Hey all, and welcome back to the third HellfireComms Disneython. Today we're going to be taking a look at a film I actually rather enjoy. This is The Three Musketeers. No, not the more recent live-action one. This is by the same people who actually animated Lilo and Stitch 2. But don't worry, it's a wee bit better than that film, not to disparage LNS 2 too much. Obviously, Richie is here with me, as with all the other films and all the films to come, so let's just get right on into it, and maybe you'll see why I like the film as much as I do. Obviously, we can't provide the content for you, so please check the video description that you'll find instructions that'll help you sync our commentary to your copy of the movie. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Now, obviously, even if you haven't seen the film, if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, you will know about the Three Musketeers, because it's like...
Obviously.
What's the name you would give to something that's like third to last, Richie?
Anti-penultimate.
Anti-penultimate. It was the anti-penultimate world of that particular film. We're not focusing on the actual Three Musketeers here. It's more a story, as you can tell. And it features Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, as all great Disney cartoons do.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously it is sort of very loosely based on Alexander Dumas's The Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, the key thing with The Three Musketeers is that even though it's called The Three Musketeers, it's about four musketeers. It's about the story of the fourth one joining them. So you've got D'Artagnan, Athos, Aramis, and Porthos.
Yes.
And that's sort of the whole point of the plot. Whereas here, our Three Musketeers are Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, because of course they are.
I think they kind of missed the trick not having the rooster from Robin Hood be the guy who's, telling the story.
I know, but then that would require them to suggest that Robin Hood takes place in this same universe. And it sort of doesn't, because the way this film is presented is you've got the troubadour here, as he's called, who is voiced by Rob Paulson.
Oh, wonderful.
Who does an excellent job.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, obviously most people would recognise him as being Raphael and Donatello in various Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles things, Yakko and Pinky in Animaniacs and Pinky in the Brain, Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron, and The Mask in The Mask, the animated series.
Oh, how could you forget PJ from Goof Troop?
Also PJ from Goof Troop. It's been a very long time since I've watched that. So,
it's fine, mate, it's fine. When did you first watch this film, mate? Because I just remember catching it on TV one day.
I think I was the same, to be honest. I don't distinctly remember when it came out, but I'm pretty sure that it was on Disney Channel. So I just remember watching it there and actually quite enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a very comfy rainy afternoon sort of film, and honestly I adore the art style. It's very pastel, but not sickeningly so. It's got very rich colours to it.
Yeah, and also it has got this whole comic book aesthetic to it, and it does actually roll with that idea from what I remember, sort of. So it gives it its own sense of style amongst pretty much all of the other Disney films that involve Mickey and Donald and Goofy.
Oh, they grew up not to be musketeers. Alas, they were janitors.
Yes, but hey, these things happen. You have your dreams, but they don't always come true.
This makes the third film in, well, maybe not Disney canon, but Disney in general, that is animated and set in France, I believe. The previous two are, Richie?
Beauty and the Beast?
And?
Oh, God.
Hunchback of Notre Dame, you silly.
Of course! I'm sorry, you put me on the spot with which other... Well, you said which other Disney films, and I was just like, wait, you're referring to actual all Disney, or are you referring to, Disney Toon Studios Disney?
What do you
and I'm just like, I don't even know. But what I do know is that the entire soundtrack to this film, it's a musical, which I'm always down for a musical, but it uses classical songs reinterpreted with new lyrics, which, while part of me is just like, oh, don't do this, another part of me is just I love this as a child, and actually introduced me to quite a few of the songs, and so when I think of them, even though I don't know the lyrics to these, they did sort of introduce me to a lot of these classical songs.
It's kind of in the same vein as Hercules, really. Like,
Yeah.
those Greek myths are wildly reinterpreted for, like, Disney audiences, but that got me into studying the actual Greek myths. So I have the Disney version, and I have the classic proper version, so really no one's losing out. It's not exactly like, there's a hidden Mickey there, by the way. It's not exactly like, you know, they're taking the piss out of the music involved, they're just reinterpreting it.
Exactly. So the All for One and One for All is quite obviously based on the Infernal Gallop from Offenbach's Orpheus in the Underworld.
Oh, Richie has just been dying to get his classical music trivia out in the open.
I know. It's because I haven't been able to do any since, you know, we did the quick look for Little King's Story and we haven't started doing that playthrough yet, so I have been wanting to get some of that out, and yeah, the song which most people know as the Can-Can, which is in fact the Infernal Gallop from Act 2, Scene 2 of Orpheus in the Underworld.
Hey.
All you know is its French title is actually Orphée aux Enfers, if I've pronounced that somewhat correctly. It's such an iconic piece of classical music. So iconic, and it's amazing, and I love it.
Pete's got his peg leg in this movie. I don't know why. I guess they just wanted to make him even more of a villain.
Well, of course, they needed to find some way of doing it, and I think this sort of wanted to make him look a little bit like a pirate.
A little bit, yeah. Although he has a little bit of an operatic, like, swing to him in this, keeping with the theme.
Well, I mean, the fact that there is so much opera in here, I do find quite surprising. Because, like, as a kid, like, well, I mean, even now, I can't stand opera. Like, it's easily one of my least favourite genres of music. Not that it's bad, it's just that I don't know, I don't like the sound of the singing.
I find that very interesting, like, for you, as someone who's a big fan of musicals. Do you find it a bit pretentious?
I mean, sometimes, I think part of it is that operas in general are quite slow affairs.
Bit pompous, maybe?
They can be, but I think part of it is the singing in a different language, but that wouldn't entirely ruin things. I think it's the fact that because of the way you sing opera, you oftentimes can't actually hear what they're saying. It just sort of blends into a sort of noise, and the entire show is in that same vein, and it's just like, I don't think I can listen to 3 hours of this and have 2 intervals, and it's a little bit much for me. I'd much prefer me 2.5 hours with an interval in the middle of music that I can understand in some form or another.
If you removed the word music and replaced it with commentary, I think you just described HellfireComms as a whole. Disgusting. I never want to see his gut again, although I think that may have cost them their position as a musketeer, or possible musketeer, recruit even.
Yeah, definitely, because the way that this film is set up is that Pete is the head of the Royal Guard or something to that effect. And, yes, the captain of the Musketeers. And so he makes the decision of who may or may not become a Musketeer.
Jim Cummings, absolutely wonderful as Pete, as always.
Jim Cummings is one of those amazing Disney voice actors who has been, and always will be an absolute legend.
I can't wait until Winnie the Pooh comes out on DVD, the live-action one.
Oh, I know. I mean, part of me thinks I should try and see it while it's still in cinemas. I've heard mixed things about it. Like, I think some people aren't too keen on it. I think some people think that it's really lovely. Surprisingly heartbreaking, but really lovely. So I've heard something for a rainy day, maybe.
Something for Disneython 4, perhaps.
I think so. That could be a good shout. We shall see. But yeah, the key thing that Pete brings up is that they cannot become musketeers because Donald's a coward, Goofy's a doofus, and Mickey's just too small. Bless him.
This is as bleak as, like, friggin' Mickey's Christmas Carol. I was going to say Prince and the Pauper. That's a little bit bleak.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've watched that one either. Good grief.
This puts me in, like, mind of all, like, the classic Mickey, Donald, and Goofy cartoons. Can you remember your very first one, mate?
Definitely not. My only guess is that it was probably part of House of Mouse when I watched it.
Oh yeah, we're like a generation apart, so we are.
The thing is that we're not actually that far apart in age, but in terms of cartoons and stuff on TV, we sort of are a generation apart, which is weird when you think about it.
Well, I mean, like, stuff can advance so quickly in, like, the span of a few years.
Oh, definitely. Because, like, I came, I think, just sort of towards the tail end of the Dragon Ball Z phase that everyone went through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember watching it, but I don't remember when I started watching it in the series, how much I watched of it, but I know that I watched it, but I don't remember much of it, so it must have been... Yeah, it's one of those weird things.
Right, so shall we go through a little bit of classic Disney VA trivia, mate? Who plays Minnie and who plays Daisy?
Minnie is very obviously voiced by Russi Taylor, who has always done a phenomenal job of voicing her and has voiced her since 1986. So Russi Taylor has been the voice of Minnie Mouse for 32 years now.
Jesus.
And, my God, Russi Taylor's 74. And she's... Wow, that's insane. Tress MacNeille, obviously, is the amazing voice of Daisy Duck.
Mm-hmm. I think she's still Daisy to this day, as of, like, the Legend of the Three Caballeros.
Yeah, would not surprise me. Like, generally, Disney don't recast roles until absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she's been the voice of Daisy since 1999.
Wow.
So it is coming up for her 20-year anniversary as the voice of Daisy Duck. And I mean, also, she's a ludicrous number of other characters throughout Disney.
I don't need her discography, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I love how I change the word every single time. Discography, filmography, Pokédex, it's all there.
Obviously. And then obviously you've got the three main heroes who, well, we'll go with Tony Anselmo as Donald Duck.
Beautiful.
Who has voiced Donald since 1985. So he's been voicing Donald for about 33 years now, which is crazy. You've got the amazing Bill Farmer as the voice of Goofy and Pluto.
I fucking adore Bill Farmer. Also, my trademark joke, have you ever seen Bill Farmer and fucking Charles Martinet in the same room at the same time? No, you have not.
Actually, having a look at his Wikipedia picture, I can see that. So, Bill Farmer has been voicing Goofy since 1987.
Bless him,
he's been voicing
geez.
the character for 31 years at this point, and just the fact that they've had the same voice actors for such a long time just shows how iconic their voices have become.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. And then in Mickey Mouse here, we have the late, great Wayne Allwine.
Oh man, like, no disrespect to Brett Owen, but this was my Mickey Mouse. In much the same way as the first Doctor you see on Doctor Who is your Doctor, this was my Mickey Mouse.
Oh, definitely. Wayne Allwine was a phenomenal Mickey, voicing the character for a grand total of 32 years. Surprisingly narrowly the longest to date, but still the longest to date. And yeah, he he's just the most iconic voice of Mickey.
You think, like, the princess would have, like, seen something was up when Pete had this room commissioned for himself.
Yeah. Although one thing that I've just noticed, which I'm kind of going, I'm sorry, what? Just made me slightly confused. So Brett Ewan is the main current voice for Mickey.
Right.
However, in the 2013 animated series, Mickey's voice was provided by Chris Diamantopoulos, because producers were looking for a voice closer to Walt Disney's portrayal of the character. Obviously, when Walt Disney voiced him, to match the vintage look of the series.
Okay.
So Mickey technically has two voices currently, but the main one is indeed Brett Ewan, who took over after Wayne Allwine passed away.
Cool. These are the Beagle Boys, reinterpreted, given like a Three Musketeers rehaul. Like, they're traditionally like duck villains, I think, so I don't know why they're here, but they work as like foils to Pete, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically why they're here. So, the Beagle Boys are primarily from the Donald Duck universe, and are seen as, the family clan of organised criminals who constantly try to rob Scrooge McDuck.
Mm-hmm. If you want to, like, a semi-origin story for them, check out Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck.
Basically, yes. So here, they are voiced by Jeff Bennett and Maurice LaMarche.
Mm-hmm.
Who are other classic Disney voice actors. Jeff Bennett, most people would recognise as being Johnny Bravo, Petrie in Land Before Time, and various other things. I believe he is also the voice of, I'm scrolling through the Wikipedia page now just to say, please let this be correct. But I'm pretty sure he voices Merlin in Kingdom Hearts.
I think that's correct, yeah.
I'm just scrolling through the extensive list to make sure I am correct, because it's one of those things where you want to make sure you've got it right.
Well, once you do, cut yourself off there, and let's continue with the movie.
Oh, so he voices Merlin from Kingdom Hearts 2 pack. Pretty sure he voices him in all of them. That's fine. And then Maurice LaMarche.
Mm-hmm.
Most people will recognise it as being the voice of Egon in the real Ghostbusters and its follow-up Extreme Ghostbusters, and also being the Brain in Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah, that's just one of those like great cartoon gags where it's like, oh, kidnap X on Tuesday, take over world on Wednesday, have brunch with my minions Friday.
Exactly, like, this film really does go ham in terms of its jokes, but it works.
It's a very funny movie. Like, it keeps it light, despite the fact that Mickey will nearly be murdered later on, shall we say.
I think the thing that this film manages to achieve is that it portrays itself as being incredibly silly and cartoonish, because it's based on the story is from a comic book in universe.
Yeah.
And so it's just very sincere in just being a really silly, fun story, which has its moments of drama, but it is primarily a fun story for kids. And it's not ashamed of that, and I think that's why it works.
Well, it resonated with me because, and you didn't bother to ask what my first Mickey Mouse cartoon was, but it was in fact Clock Cleaners, a very old cartoon. It's one of the levels featured in Epic Mickey, you know, the 2D transition stages. And
yes,
that had a lot of like slapstick and physical humour to it. So I think that was being one of the very first cartoons I ever watched. It just stuck with me. So I've always enjoyed like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy cartoons. I think if I had to pick, I would say Goofy cartoons are my favourite.
Agreed. I think, in general, Goofy is arguably the best of the three main characters. I think because he manages to pull off slapstick and sort of those deep emotional moments arguably more effectively than either Mickey or Donald, and that's nothing against any of the voice actors involved.
No, not at all, no.
I think it's because Goofy looks so goofy, and it's the laugh and so on and so forth, that he is sort of your go-to slapstick character. So when he does a moment that is more sincerely emotional or dramatic, while it perhaps looks daft, it's more effective because he's the character who you would expect to be the comic relief.
Yeah, he's
for him
goofy.
To be more of an emotional heart. It works. It's why he becomes, or has become, the voice of reason in the Kingdom Hearts series.
Very much so. He's goofy, not stupid.
Exactly. And I mean, also, clearly he's got to have some emotional intelligence, or a lot of emotional intelligence, because he's brought up a son.
Yeah, he has 2 movies to that effect, and a television series.
Exactly. So it's just like, he's clearly the best of the Disney characters, because he has brought up his son as a single father and done an excellent job at it.
This is the Goofy Appreciation Power Hour right now. Let's just quit the MovieCom right here.
But I suppose, whilst we are doing stuff, might be a good idea to have a look at a little bit about the production of the film, because it's one of the things that I don't think a lot of people really know.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
So, an adaptation of Alexandre Dumas's The Three Musketeers with Mickey, Donald and Goofy as the Musketeers had been planned during the 1980s at Walt Disney Animation Studios. In 1983, storyboard artists Steve Hewlett and Pete Young developed the project with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy and Jose Carioca, who is the parrot that appears in Saludos Amigos.
The Three Caballeros.
Three Caballeros, and so on and so forth, as the Musketeers. So my assumption is that Jose would be the fourth one who would join the team. But ultimately it fell into development hell, as you would expect.
Yeah, it's a hard sell, really.
Yeah. In 2002, in honour of Mickey Mouse's 75th anniversary, it was announced that a featurette entitled The Search of Mickey Mouse was in development, and love at first sight. Oh, it's made even more special, by the fact that Wayne Allwine and Rusty Taylor were married, and that's still just like one of the most amazing things ever. The fact that they were both married.
Like, they were a romantic couple in show, and it felt genuine.
And it's because they were a romantic couple outside of show. Just amazing. So yeah, that project, The Search of Mickey Mouse, was about Mickey getting kidnapped by unknown forces, forcing Minnie to enlist Basil of Baker Street to investigate his disappearance, and later encounters one character from Disney's animated film canon, so she'd run into Alice, Peter Pan, Robin Hood and Aladdin. But the project suffered script problems, with the multiple cameos being thought to be too gimmicky. I couldn't understand why. After the cancellation of that project, it was announced that a feature film based on the Three Musketeers, with Mickey, Donald and Goofy in the lead roles, was in development, meaning the project had been revived, but the film just didn't include Jose Carioca, because I think they thought it was too much, and to be fair, he's probably one of the odd characters in the Disney canon. I know that they've sort of begun to revive him more, because they had the series, I think it was the series The Legend of the Three Caballeros.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
And then I believe he's also been in the most recent version of DuckTales, I think, I'm not sure.
I think they are preparing for him and Panchito to appear, yeah.
Yeah, so they're sort of reviving him as a character, but before then, when this film came out, he was pretty much a nobody character. Nobody really knew who he was other than the odd House of Mouse cartoon.
Why would you sing your motivation? You don't do these things in case someone's listening in.
Yes, but he needs a villain song, and actually chose a pretty good song to do it. So P.T.'s King of France is based on In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Ooh, Churner motherfucking bog!
Yep. So In the Hall of the Mountain King is by Grieg, and yeah, it's great. I mean, really the main thing that I think of whenever I hear this, I'm pretty sure, is Alton Towers, which is a theme park in the UK, because I'm pretty sure that its sort of theme song is it In the Hall of the Mountain King.
It's a good song.
Damn good song.
It's funny because The Country of the Musketeers, I think that's its name, and Symphony of Sorcery, the Fantasy World, are the anti-penultimate and penultimate worlds in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. So having these two be so closely associated may go a bit further, like in terms of making sense than you might realise at first.
Yeah, because they are both, well, their soundtracks are both classical music, which that's great. I feel, since I kind of missed it slightly, when Mickey and Minnie were doing Goo Goo Eyes at each other, there was a song which was called Love So Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And that was made up of Dance the Reed Flutes from, I believe it's Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker. And then it also took Romeo and Juliet Fancy Overture from Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet.
There you go, mate.
Yeah, I believe that basically the only bit, I think the only bit of Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet that I know is, I think it's the ball bit. I'm not 100% sure. It might be a different song from Romeo and Juliet, or it might be a completely different version of Romeo and Juliet. I don't even know.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. It's just like they're having McDonald's in like this really posh carriage.
Well, you see, that this is what we want to see of our delightful royalty. We want to see that they are normal people.
I guess so. I like Minnie's design in this movie. I think it's just the little poof of hair at the front just makes her seem a bit more energetic.
Yeah, it really works. I think also it makes her seem slightly more regal than she does elsewhere.
A little bit, and it just makes her stand out in terms of like the movie's style and whatnot.
Yeah. Part of me feels like I sort of wanted them to... I mean, I'm going to have to double check that. Whether in Kingdom Hearts they actually make use of that tuft of hair at all. Because obviously they use it in the world. No, they don't. So I sort of wish that they did in Queen Minnie's regular design in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, I think we actually have to go into KH lore in order to discuss that. So shall we spend a bit of time talking about Kingdom Hearts, Dream Drop Distance, and the use of the Three Musketeers?
Well, why not?
First of all, great world. Awesome soundtrack. Cool set pieces and whatnot. In fact, in this bit, they adapted it to where you're being chased by a gigantic T-Rex nightmare.
Well, of course, because, I mean, how else are you going to do this sort of stuff?
But basically, this is a world, like, it's in the past. It's in Mickey's past where he was basically in training. And I would assume this is where he met Donald and Goofy, either that or... it gets a bit confusing when you, like, pair it up with, like, Timeless River and whatnot. So you'd have to, like, excuse me if I get some of the bits wrong. But essentially, like, Sora meets Mickey while he's in training, and they have to, like, guard Princess Minnie, who's not a queen yet, obviously, because she'd become Queen of Disney Castle and so on.
Yeah, it's one of those awkward things. I mean, if you're trying to put Mickey's life into a canon story, you're going to be here for a much longer time than if you were trying to, put Legend of Zelda into a canon story, or if you were trying to figure out the whole multiverse plot lines of Pokemon these days. Because I think you would find it nigh on impossible, because pretty much most of the Disney cartoons featuring Mickey, Donald and Goofy are completely contradictory. There is no real set beginning to the story and no set sort of end or any other point. Like, these characters have just been these characters for as long as anybody can remember. I think probably the only major additions were Max, Goofy's son, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie as Donald's nephews and sort of the rest of Donald's family coming into it.
Yeah, but oh my god, that's Merlin's castle.
Do you mean the tower that Merlin stays in whilst he's at the castle where...
Yes, that's what I meant, you pedantic bastard.
Well, you see, you need to make sure that these things are correct, and Goofy.
See, this is what I'm talking about. He's great for slapstick and whatnot, but keep this in mind, this will pay off in the plot eventually.
Can I just say that, for me, anyway, the second you said but, Goofy slammed straight into that cow's butt, and it was just like the most perfect piece of timing I have ever seen. It was amazing. Well,
this is France, it will be bought with a little E on the end.
I don't think it would be. It would, in fact, be derriere.
Oh, just try the joke.
If you're going to make the joke, you're going to have to make sure that it is actually factually accurate.
Oh, okay. You're one of those guys, but how are they going to get out of this one? Will they stop the Beagle Boys? Will the princess and her lady-in-waiting be safe? Find out. Roughly about now. We are halfway done with the movie. It's not a very long one.
It's really not. As we said in Lilo and Stitch 2, which is what we recorded just before this one, we're recording commentary for 2 at once, because, they're short enough, and we might as well cram as many in together, so that, one, we get through it quicker, and also, we can keep that excitement going, although it does mean that, my throat is probably just going to be like, ugh,
yeah, we'll go back to 1 per week for a little bit after this.
Well, we can see what ones we can squish together and go from there.
Yeah, for sure, mate.
And this is why Mickey being small does not help in combat, unless, you fight like Yoda or Gon in Tekken 3.
It's funny you mention Yoda, because that is kind of how Mickey fights in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, I think they sort of... Because by the time Mickey was fighting in Kingdom Hearts, this film had come out, and obviously you see Mickey fighting normally. So I think that they were probably just like, yeah, we can't have him fight like that, because, he'd be very ineffective. But if we have him fight like Yoda in, the prequel trilogy, then actually he becomes much more effective, because really that's the best way for small characters to fight, is jumping and flipping about, or, doing a Gon from Tekken 3 and going for all the low blows. That's pretty much your tactic.
This was translated pretty well into Dream Drop Distance, I have to say.
It really was.
Although I think they skipped the windmill on the cow and just went to, the bounce on the tree.
I think they did as well, but to be honest, how did you expect them to do that as well? I think they would have probably struggled at that time. If, however, we were talking Kingdom Hearts 3 engine, I think we might have been okay.
I'm so looking forward to that. I can't wait to see what worlds they've got left to reveal.
I just want to play the game. It looks amazing, and I hope it is as good as it looks, and as good as it deserves to be. Part of that being, it deserves to be good for the fans. Everyone has been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who are going to be playing Kingdom Hearts 3 have followed the series for so long that they deserve a good end to the saga. But then equally for Tetsuya Nomura and all of the team making the game, the amount of hard work they've put into that franchise over the years, they deserve for it to come out being what they want it to be, and for it to be received as well as they want it to be.
Well, real talk, I don't think, apart from maybe 1 or 2, when you could probably guess which games I'm talking about, there isn't a bad Kingdom Hearts game. They all play pretty well.
Oh yeah, they all play excellently. There are some that you would put at the bottom of the pile. Chain of Memories, 3 for 2 days, recoded.
I'll fight you on Chain of Memories, mate.
Oh, I hate Chain of Memories.
Well, Chain of Memories hates you!
I'm sure, well, it really feels like it does.
Touché.
But yeah, the entire franchise is it's a classic in gaming. And so just we can but hope that Kingdom Hearts 3 is everything that we want it to be and everything that the developers want it to be. And fingers crossed, we all come away being very happy. And it's quite fitting that we're having that conversation as we get a really lovely version of the Blue Danube with Sweet Wings of Love. The Blue Danube is by Strauss, and I'm pretty sure it's sort of a very standard waltz song that a lot of people like to use. And yeah, it's been one of the most consistently popular pieces of music in the classical repertoire.
Well, I mean, some pieces of music just sink into the public, consciousness and just remain there generation after generation.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say you pretty much look at all of the musical pieces that they put into this film, you've basically got the majority of the heavy hitters in terms of classical music that everybody knows. You've got Infernal Gallop, you've got In the Hall of the Mountain King, you've got the Blue Danube. We're going to have Habanera a little bit later on. That is, no matter how many times that joke is played, it's still hilarious, and I love it.
It's just the timing that makes it work, really.
It really is. You've got some Beethoven coming up later, and then also you get some actual Gilbert and Sullivan with the Pirates of Penzance towards the finale, and that's just really impressive and
meta jokes. I love them.
Yeah.
That is an amazing impression. It's like your two are going to be together forever.
Also, I love that, she's making a joke of I'll end up with Donald forever. She ends up with Donald forever.
I don't know. Legend of the Three Caballeros is singing a different tune.
Well, I've not seen any of that, so I have absolutely no idea what's going on in there.
It's really actually pretty good. I've only watched the first couple of episodes out of about 11, I think. They pretty much shelved it on some kind of service, and I don't know when it's meant to properly premiere, if it hasn't already, but I would definitely recommend you searching out some copies if you want just some nice, good slapstick, adventurous action and whatnot.
That's fair enough. I'll see if I've got time to, sneak it out, and we'll see where we go from there.
Goofy Gets Tricked, Part 7.
Yes, but I don't know whether it's coming right now or whether it's going to be a little bit later. But I really, really like this film's use of the habanera. And it's going to be involving Goofy, and it is amazing.
Is Donald usually the coward? I'm trying to remember back to old cartoons and whatnot.
I don't think so. I look at the archetypes that they went with for these characters, and Donald is probably the one that doesn't fit. Because Goofy, yeah, he's sometimes presented as being quite dim. That fits. Mickey, yes, he is way too small. It's kind of not really ever been used as a joke against him, but it works. But Donald has never been a scaredy cat. He's generally always been the angry, very violent character. He's the one who freaks out and goes and tries to murder you.
Yeah, he's a little bit Scooby-Doo-ish in this, but I don't mind because if anyone had to take that role, Donald, I guess, kind of makes sense. They could have played up the anger role as well, but that might have made for a bit more of an exasperating script.
Yeah, but part of me feels like it might have... I mean, it's not a major problem at all.
No, it helps with the character development and growth for the character.
Yeah, but I feel like having terrified Donald meshed with typical angry Donald would be quite hilarious. Because you would have Donald freaking the hell out, and then flipping to like anger. So like when he was like, Captain Pete, like having him like go from terrified to like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and then scarpering. It's sort of then having that.
Oh my god, Donald's been turned to a bush.
I know. I mean, what sort of magical person's been round here lately?
I guess that is the safest place to hide, you know?
I mean, yeah, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to work entirely all that well, because, I mean, what are you actually going to be able to do in there? Because you can't escape if you're stuck in there.
Also, they're the ones meant to be protecting the princess, not the other way around.
Yeah, but as we've seen, these guys are, as much as we love Mickey, Donald and Goofy, they are pretty incompetent for the majority of this film.
Well, that's kind of the point, they're the underdogs.
Underdogs is one way of calling them.
Well, one of them's an underdog, one's an underduck, one's an undermouse. Don't even get me started on the Pluto and Goofy dilemma, okay? We're not here for that type of discussion.
Yeah, that would be, like, completely a ridiculous discussion, which we would be here for hours trying to get to the bottom of.
So, the penny has dropped, Pete has played his hand, he got a Yahtzee, a Connect 4, and now I guess we're heading into the third act, the finale, because there is only about 20 minutes left.
I think there's a little bit more.
No, there's not, I checked.
Well, yeah, I suppose,
it barely scratches an hour, I double-checked. Classic.
Majorly classic. Yeah, so you are right that there's 27 minutes left, but it's 27 rather than 20. 7 minutes is still a lot of movie time.
That's the credits.
We don't know how long the credits in this film are.
Will you just believe me? I need you to believe me, Rich. Believe in me, Rich.
Fine.
If we can't believe in me, believe in Donald. Believe in the Donald that believes in you.
I don't quite know how that one works, but okay. Even though, Donald doesn't believe in himself, so why should I believe in him?
This works a bit better here than in the game, I think, because it doesn't come nearly as much out of left field here.
Yeah, but then that's sort of the curse of trying to squish an entire movie's story into a single level. Like, in some... speaking Kingdom Hearts specifically, some films succeed better at being compressed than others because some don't have too many constituent parts. I mean, if you look at pretty much most of the classic Disney, so Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, when they were in Birth by Sleep, there are ultimately only about 3 or 4 key points in those narratives. You've got, like Snow White, you've got her at the castle and running away. You've got the evil queen getting the hunters to go steal her heart. You've got meeting the dwarves, and then you've got the poison apple and the kiss. That's basically Snow White in a nutshell.
Yeah.
You can quite easily compress that. Sleeping Beauty, she pricks her finger. Free Philip. Philip goes and beats Maleficent. Everyone's happy. That's basically Sleeping Beauty. Cinderella, you could have maybe extended a little bit, but you don't need all of the sort of preamble of her life's awful. You just need the Cinderella gets to go to the ball, goes to the ball, falls in love with the prince.
Yeah, you can get the subtext.
Comes back home, tries on the slipper. That's all you need. But with something like this, while it's done very well in Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, there are a lot more character beats in the plot. So even though your sort of core principles are Mickey and Co become musketeers, Mickey and Co fail at being musketeers but still manage to rescue the princess, and Mickey falls in love with Minnie. Pete betrays them all and tries to kill Mickey actually properly tries to kill Mickey, and then we get the finale at the opera, you've got a lot more character development in there. You've got Donald's whole arc, you've got Goofy's whole arc, you've got Mickey's whole arc, and they are more complicated than if you're having them as ultimately side characters, which they are in the world, because you're primarily focusing on Sora, Donald and Goofy
Drink.
working alongside Mickey and the whole musketeerness.
Which is funny, because Sora is the fourth musketeer in that context.
Basically, which is amazing. But you have that sort of different thing going on there. And I don't think that it... When you've got too much character development to try and squeeze in, you're always going to struggle to properly capture that plot in such a small amount of time. Because, I mean, I'm trying to think how long the cutscenes are for Country Musketeers. You probably only got about 10-20 minutes or so of cutscenes for a film that is like 3 and a bit times the length. So you're always going to lose something. But yes, we're about to get the amazing Chains of Love, which is based on Habanera from Carmen. And it's amazing. Also, I should point out that Clarabelle Cow is voiced by April Winchell.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been the voice of Clarabelle since 1996. So she's been voicing the character for 22 years at this point. And she's actually got... If she does actually do the entirety of this, which I think she might do, she has a surprisingly amazing voice.
I mean, they can all sing, it's just whether you like Gooby's voice at all, I guess.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, April Winchell doing Clarabelle, like, there's some insane notes in this song. Like, they require proper singing skills. And also, this is just hilarious because it's like this sort of romantic song, and it's just complete comic relief as she's trying to murder him, but it's so effective.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Habanera is the popular name for the song L'amour est un oiseau rebelle, which is Love is a Rebellious Bird, from Bizet's opera Carmen. Which is kind of hilarious, but I do really like this version of the lyrics. And this is just an iconic moment.
Jesus.
Yep.
Love is more important than murder.
Apart from, when you have the weight of two of you and there's a massive anchor and... yeah, you're kind of putting things a lot at risk there.
It's fine, we have a balance here. This is how science works. So Mickey is currently being, held captive in, Mont Saint-Michel?
Something like that, yes. Let me just double check and see if it's in the, yes, Mont Saint-Michel. Which is just off the coast of Normandy. And, yeah, it's a pretty key monument.
See, I was getting a bit confused because Pete came here via land, but in the game, it's just, the tide's high automatically. You never, get to walk there, you have to take a boat.
Yeah, but that's sort of the whole thing of, I think, Mont Saint-Michel. It's the same with, I believe, Tintagel, I think. Of that they're basically castles on an island that during a low tide you can walk to, but when it's high tide you have to kind of go on a boat to. Which, the reason obviously they did that was to make them much easier to fortify, because you would, struggle to assail a castle like that. I mean, because you'd only be able to, only ever able to go in when the tide was low, and then you get stranded when it came back in. And here's another classic song. This is The End, which is based on Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, and it's definitely one of the best known compositions in classical music and one of the most frequently played symphonies.
There you go, there's classic Donald. He overcomes his cowardice and the true form cracks through the duck egg, I suppose.
Yes, we needed that. We needed Donald to be a good old bit of Donald.
Bass troubadour breaking the fourth wall.
I know. He does that throughout the entire film. You're just like, this is some pretty impressive fourth wall breaking. I'll allow it because you're delightful and funny.
This implies that Donald was wearing his costume, that he had the sailor thing underneath, and underneath that another copy of this fucking musketeer uniform.
Well, either that, or, he was, after he left, he thought, you know what happens if I need a dramatic reveal? And so, put it on underneath, just in case he needed it.
Cartoons are fun.
Well, yeah, apart from, when they are actively trying to drown one of the most famous cartoon characters of all time in a hidden Mickey.
Yep. This is nowhere near as dark as, other shorts like Runaway Brain, though.
Oh yeah, Disney has gone far darker in some of its cartoons, and in actually quite a lot of its films as well, and stuff. So, I mean, they aren't afraid of going a bit dark.
I think they're a bit more liberal with Mickey's use than, say, Nintendo and Mario at this point.
Yeah, well, I think it's because by this point, Mickey had been a character for God knows how many decades. So Mickey became a thing in 1928, so he was coming up for 80 when this film came out, which is nuts.
Spoilers,
actually,
Mike's don't live that long.
No, actually, he would have been over 80 by this point. Because 2005 or 4 or whenever the hell it was, 2004. So he would have been about 76-ish or something, maybe? No.
Yeah, Richie, focus.
Yeah, my maths has just gone completely out the window. However, what I can say is that in 2018, which is obviously when this is all getting recorded, the delightful Mickey Mouse is 90 years old.
Shit.
Yeah. So the point that I was trying to make before, I got lost in maths, is that they'd had that length of time to do stuff with Mickey. So they knew what worked, what didn't work. They knew what they wanted to be able to experiment with, what they didn't. If you think about Mario, while he's 30-odd these days, might be 40-odd now, I don't even know, I can't even be bothered to figure that maths out. As a character, he hasn't actually done all that much in terms of being a character outside of his games. Obviously, there has been the cartoons, which I don't think Disney were the biggest fans of. You had the movie, which Nintendo hated. So it's a difficult one. You can see why Nintendo are quite protective of Mario as a character. And I mean, part of me is slightly terrified of, what's going to happen with the actual Mario film, which is going to occur, because my brain's just going, it's the Minion guys, they're going to ruin it.
Oh, Illumination.
Yeah, but so I'm terrified, but then we shall see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how this fools anybody, I don't know.
This is very similar to the climax of Basil the Great Mouse Detective, funnily enough.
It really is.
Oh my god,
yeah.
He's wearing the same robe that Ratigan wears.
Yeah. That's incredible. Wow.
Again with your fucking 4-4 breaking shenanigans, because I know it's you.
Yes, like, how would we not have known? But yes, right here we have full-on excerpts of The Pirates of Penzance, or The Slave of Duty, which is a comic opera in 2 acts by Gilbert and Sullivan. And I mean, pretty much the one song that most people take from this show is the Major General song, which is going to get used to amazing effect in the finale battle of this film.
Well, rescue in huge quotation marks. We'll bumble our way through, and within the next 6 minutes you'll be free, hopefully.
Basically, yes.
Guess they must have upgraded their swords, because they don't shatter upon impact anymore.
I know.
It's all part of the show, don't worry.
Of course it's all part of the show. Which is why they're kind of they're trying to sing, be consummate professionals, and then they get into the middle of a sword fight. I don't know why, Mickey and Donald and Goofy don't think to be a little bit more careful in terms of where they're fighting, but hey, there we go.
And the needs must, mate.
But I will say, this is probably... Well, just in general, this is a really good climax.
It is, yeah.
To the film. Like, they've had the whole ongoing joke of the opera, and then the finale is at the opera.
It's a well set up finale in last act.
Yeah, it works so well, and here it is. Yeah, that Major General song is ridiculous because it's so fast and so wordy. Like when we were going to record this the other day, I did sit down and think, right, let's see whether I can actually do how fast it goes. No, not really, but I certainly tried.
Can you rattle off a bit of it for us?
Oh, fine. Right. This is going to go both incredibly well and incredibly badly. So, I'm going to try and go as quickly as possible. I am the very model of a modern Major General. I'm information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the facts historical, from Marathon to Waterloo in order categorical. I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical, and I understand equations both the simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I am teeming with a lot of news, with many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. I'm very good at
you can stop now. No, you've stopped a couple of times now. Stop.
Yeah, you see, it's one of those things where you really do quite quickly get stumbling on your words.
And you have to sing that. Richie was just speaking it.
Yeah, so, it's just ridiculous. It's not an easy song to do, at all.
So not only do we get, a song and a bit of a dance, with swordplay, I guess, we get Mickey versus Pete. The classic evil versus good, as it were.
Exactly. It's just so effective, especially, considering they specifically got the right music for this, and they did all the lighting, just to make it more exciting as well.
I wonder if they've caught on that this isn't part of the act yet.
Probably. But there's not a lot they can do about it at this moment in time.
Well, if I remember my dream drop distance, we'll see. Wink. He's just standing there and letting this happen for some reason.
I know. It's just like, Pete, what are you doing? Seriously, you stand a chance of winning if you actually did something.
Well, all for one and one for all. Fuck you.
Yeah, and also we need a decent happy ending, so Pete needs to be defeated.
I'm fine with it. It's not the most satisfying thing, because in the, the game adaptation, he goes flying backwards into the set, and everything blows up.
And it's amazing.
Yep, they're made for each other.
Of course. I'm surprised that they, didn't really explore the idea of Goofy and Clarabelle having a relationship in any other medium.
Isn't there a little bit of it in Our House Mouse?
There might be a little bit of it, but there's also... I suppose it's because Clarabelle and Horace Horsecollar are kind of sort of connected, but I do find it odd that Goofy's the only one of the main three that doesn't have a romantic interest, but he does have a son, so he did have a wife, so he did do the thing, which is one of those things where you look at it and you just go, how? Why? But it's amazing.
There's a saying that's like, Goofy's the only, one of the main three Disney trio who has canonically fucked.
Exactly. And I like how I was skirting around it and you were just like, yep, they fucked.
I'll say the things you're too afraid to say, mate. I'll say the dumb things you can't possibly sully yourself with. You ready, mate? Should we say it one last time? All for one.
For all... Oh, for bloody hell. All for one and one for all. There we go.
I can't fucking believe it. You had one job.
I had one job. I'm sorry. I'm tired. And they're about to go into this song, so that's okay.
Well, we're done now. It's fine. You fucked up the goddamn finale.
Yeah, just... Hey, there's always got to be one, at some point or other.
I guess so, yeah. Thank you very much for your co-com work on the film, mate. It wouldn't have been as good if you weren't here. I think so.
Apart from fucking up the end, but...
Oh, shush. The Three Musketeers, mate. How'd you enjoy the film?
It's delightful. It's relatively simple, but it's really quite funny. It's got some nice touching moments in it. The soundtrack's great, and yeah, it's just a really fun film that if you just want to sit down and have an enjoyable hour and a bit, go for it.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, really. I echo everything that Richie said. Maybe the climax itself... Pete just kind of gives up, which is sort of funny.
Yeah.
But it's more funny than annoying. So, also, this whole comic shtick, they actually use that as a special move in the Dream Drop Distance world. Which I thought was very nice attention to detail. But yeah, this has been the Three Musketeers. We hope you've enjoyed our commentary. So, we'll see you next time when the third HFC Disneython continues. Bye for now.